How likely is a government shutdown to happen?
Well, if the omnibus bill, it's unlikely to happen this year. If the omnibus bill happens, then we're in the clear through September 30th of next year. But again, it's more likely to happen next year under a split Congress because not only would the House have to, appease this coalition of conservatives in crafting the new budget, they obviously want to make cuts to Biden's agenda. I mean, that's their entire initiative and platform is they want to cut all kinds of social spending programs. But it would also have to appeal to a Democratic controlled Senate. So that is a lot harder ask when the situation we're in now is we have two chambers who are controlled by Democrats, and we have Mitch McConnell, who is willing to recruit the Republican votes needed in the Senate to reach that filibuster threshold.
You said that Americans don't like a government shutdown, and this seems like definitely a last case resort. But politically, are there any winners when this happens?
So I want to point back to 2018, 2019, the last time this happened, because I feel like it's a good example. It was over border wall funding, which was just such a hot button issue and something that, Trump's base cared so much about that they could get away with a government shutdown. But in this case, I don't think that there is any one, major item that would warrant this in the eyes of the American public.
And you mentioned what Republicans are pushing for, what Democrats are pushing for. But in order to compromise here, which side is going to have to concede more?
Next year, I would say that it would be Democrats because, again, the House will be controlled by Republicans. And it does seem like, again, Mitch McConnell is willing to work on the Senate side with Democrats to reach a deal that they are both comfortable with. But yeah, I mean, Democrats want to spend more and they're working off Biden's budget. It's what he has proposed and put forth already. That is the framework. So, things like climate initiatives, expansion of the Child Tax Credit Act, funding for Ukraine, those are all things that are kind of on the chopping block.
And as we head into 2023, what should we look for next?
Well, I would say definitely a legislative stalemate. There's not going to be a lot of legislation passed next year at all, but I think it's really going to be interesting to see, and you're seeing it playing out now with the budget negotiations, with McCarthy's negotiations regarding House rules for next year. There is this faction of conservatives in Congress that, as of now, his hands are tied because he needs their votes for the speakership. He is likely to win the speakership. Might be like a messy floor fight, something that's a bit unprecedented. But once he wins the speakership, they won't have as much control, but they will certainly have more leverage than was expected before the midterms because Republicans were supposed to have a lot greater of a majority in the House. But at the same time, there is a coalition of moderates who, one of the headlines today was McCarthy is kind of playing good cop, bad cop with these two factions of Congress. And he is able to use those moderates to kind of say what he can't say to the conservative faction right now because he needs their votes for speaker. And for example, the headline that I referred to was regarding these rules changes in the House.
Sara Dorn, we have a lot to look forward to, and I hope you join us to break it all down. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brittany.